All right, let's go to Dr. Harold Schninsky. He's a sports psychologist, president-elect, Florida Psychological Association. Welcome back, my friend.
Good afternoon, Brandon. A pleasure to be back with you.
Hey, yes, sir. Also, he's author of A Champion's Mindset, 15 Mental Conditioning Steps to Becoming a Champion Athlete. So with that said, big week here in Tampa Bay. Take us into the locker room. What's going on in the locker rooms right now? If you're Bruce Arians, you got Tom Brady, the GOAT. You've got a lot of great athletes, maybe some younger athletes as well. And, of course, in the other locker room, you're Andy Reid talking about Patrick Mahomes and his great receiving core, as well as a good defense as well. Take us into the locker room. What are the mental tips and tricks that you might be utilizing right now?
Well, they're certainly not going to be looking at doing things differently. They want to make sure that they're emphasizing we got here for a reason. We want to continue. We want to run through the finish line, not just to the finish line. There's an old adage that says the opportunity of a lifetime is only as good as the lifetime of the opportunity. Yeah. So we need to strike while the iron is hot. Winners look for solutions. Losers look for excuses.
Yeah.
If it's meant to be, it's up to me. The coaches are now instilling this mindset to realize that we are a team, we are a unit, we have a philosophy, and we are going to execute to the best of our ability. And so this entire week is going to be emphasizing that and then looking at film to be able to identify what can we exploit.
Yeah, looking at the opponent's weaknesses, where maybe we could attack on a third down. Okay, by the way, if we get in this goal line situation with time running out, what's our go-to play? Give us, we're going to start the game with these plays. We're going to end the game with this series. It's really interesting when you think of the psychology behind it. Would they? And I know you worked with lots of athletes, and you can't really name a lot of the names, but are they bringing in special psychologists, people to talk to them this week? Is that some of the stuff? Because I know Tony Robbins at some point, he talked about going into different locker rooms. Is that normally happening this week?
It's not only they're bringing in some unique individuals who they feel as though can express the message, but the teams already do have mental performance coaches that are working with them. And one of the things that's rather important for them to be able to communicate, and we always like to emphasize this to our athletes, is that there are three things that don't matter. And it's important for the athletes to understand it. And the three things are the name of an event, the number of fans, and the potential trophy you're going to win. The name of the event, like the Super Bowl, doesn't change the laws of physics. Everything that we do, it's still the same size field, football, same number of downs. Let the fans, your agent, your family, reporters get into the name of it. They'll have to pay a lot for the tickets, the few that get an opportunity to go.
Right.
But the reality is that doesn't change the laws of physics. Let's take care of what we need to. The number of fans. It doesn't matter if it's 7,500, frontline workers or a crowded stadium. None of them touch you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if it's full or empty. You're not as good as your favorite fan says, and you're not as bad as your worst hater says. And lastly, the trophy. Let's not get hung up on that because that's an outcome. You need to focus on the process. Don't get ahead of yourself. Focus on the now.
I like that. That's some really good tips here. We're talking with Dr. Harold Shinitzky here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes. And let's translate that also. I want to take you from the locker room, from the field, and I want to take you into the investor psychology. Talk a little bit about, there's a lot in the news today with GameStop gains, and there's a lot of different things happening with silver and Reddit and, the different apps where people are kind of, playing the hand that the hedge funds have been playing. But talk about investor psychology as well. How important is that?
Well, it's interesting you're talking about the common individual is now having some benefits in society because of the movement that's taking place. So I guess one of the questions would be is how adaptive can someone be? And that has a lot to do with, how risk averse someone could be. So is someone willing to shift in the moment and take advantage of the opportunity, strike while the iron is hot? Other individuals are going to have the kind of the long haul, the more conservative approach. And for those individuals, they probably want to stay that way because they don't want to be, as we always say, they don't want to have it situationally dependent. They don't want to ride your highest highs and therefore crash in your lowest lows. So for those individuals who want to ride it out, you want to ride it out. If you are in charge of a group of people, it's like being a coach. So you need to understand the people that are working under you. Each one of them is motivated by a different factor. And as a good coach, as a good leader of a team, you need to be able to understand what motivates each person. So you just can't throw a one, a size fits all. Some individuals like security. Some like personal growth. Some like the team. All people respond to different aspects, and good coaches understand that. And one of the keys, and something that you talk about all the time, is this idea that you're a team. You're part of this VIP team, this community.
Right.
So you're growing your team. You want to bring individuals in, teach them your philosophy, have everybody understand what the long-term goal is, and figure out what my role is that increase the probability of success for not only me, but for the we. I mean, if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. And so if you're looking at having a successful team, being able to get everybody on the same team, understanding what the philosophy is, the long-term goal, and what my role is as an integral part of this team is vitally important.
That's right. Yeah, that culture that you have as a team is sometimes just unstoppable. That's why you see the great dynasties that kind of roll it over from year to year. We're talking with Dr. Harold Schninsky here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Every day we're going to tell you something good here in our feel-good story of the day. Let's go ahead and get that in here.
Tell me something good.
All right, so you got an investor uses GameStop games to help sick children. This is our feel-good story of the day. A GameStop investor in Dallas, Texas is using its proceeds to do good deeds for others. The investor, who wishes to remain anonymous, delivered 10 Nintendo Switches game consoles purchased from GameStop locations around Dallas-Fort Worth area to Medical City Children's Hospital on Thursday. The investor also said his efforts were made possible by the GME gains, and he said it made, quote, made a good amount through r/Wall Street bets on this hilarious GME trade and felt inspired to give back in a way that was equally hilarious. The investor said that there is hope to convince others from Reddit forum Wall Street bets to give back in a similar way and turn GameStop short sale into a force for good. Your reaction to that, Doc?
Oh, my gosh, it's great. It's interesting that we oftentimes talk about the idea of giving back. So many of our athletes that we work with are in very, very fortunate positions and have phenomenal platforms. Giving back to the community. I heard a wonderful quote that said, my natural skills are God-given. What I do with them are my gift to God. And so that idea of giving back, which was really stunning, and having, as this gentleman was just saying, with this kind of wild ride, he's actually maintaining what's referred to as an attitude of gratitude.
Yes.
How fantastic is that? I am fortunate in this position, and I shall provide for others. Isn't that what it's all about?
Absolutely. I love that. Natural skills are God-given. So you're given, you take those skills
and
and you
do with them are your gift to God.
Your gift to God. Yeah, I love that. I wanted to bring this up too because this is an interesting article. I was reading one of the books that I love. I don't forgot which book it came out of, but it's 2005 study. I wonder if you're interested or if you're familiar with this. It was a 2005 study by the National Science Foundation. It was an article that said the average person has between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts per day, and of those thoughts, 80% are negative, and 95% of those thoughts are exactly at the same day before. Have you heard that before?
Well, it's interesting. That one study I am not directly familiar with, but I am familiar with the concept of negative self-talk, and that is a common reality for most of us. What we end up doing is having to filter out for survival purposes. How is something going to go wrong? And so we have to be able to manage the situations. Otherwise, you're just Pollyannish and naive. So your world, your life experience gives you an opportunity to, in a blink of an eye, and that's actually, there's a book, Blink, that speaks directly to that, is how much information you can acquire in a moment. At the same time, you happen to have self-talk. And because of that, there's this process called cognitive restructuring, thoughts and the way you redevelop them. Cognitive restructuring is something that healthy people do, and it's something that needs to be offered up to other individuals who struggle maybe with too much of the negative self-talk, and it's got two parts. One is catch the negative self-talk as early as possible, and the second part is insert something that's positive, constructive, productive, that's based on reality. Most people think, oh, Doc, I got that first one, but what do you mean with the second? I got to tell you, it's very difficult to catch the negative self-talk because it's become kind of predictably insidious. It starts small and it builds until there's almost a peanut gallery yelling at yourself. It's like a bad friend, like a frenemy.
Yeah.
So you need to learn how to catch it earlier. And then when you say insert something positive, constructive, productive based on reality, and a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? It's literally everything that you've been able to accomplish in your life. When I apply myself, it's worked out. I've received feedback that I've been successful. I got that promotion, closed that deal, scored that touchdown.
Yep.
It's all of those. It's a dose of reality that then gets to challenge the intrusive thought. And that gives you a healthy perspective to manage different situations.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And I was sharing that similar thought to my daughter about incantations, just throughout the day, just consistently telling yourself day after day, think about 365 days a year. If you're constantly saying, I'm blessed and highly favored, I'm happy and grateful now that money flows to me from multiple sources on a consistent basis. You develop whatever's good for you, and to positively talk to yourself and to positively have those affirmations or incantations, however you want to say it. But if you're blessed and highly favored, it's pretty bad to have a bad day.
There's a wonderful quote that follows in exactly the direction you're talking about. I think it was Henry Ford who said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah, that's right.
So
I've heard that before.
It really has that wonderful reality. So you must be able to see it in your mind's eye first.
That's
If you can't see it in your mind's eye, it doesn't exist out there. You won't even notice it when it's there. So I always like to talk to individuals about how there are no guarantees. Unless, of course, we're talking to adults, and then we all say, death and taxes. But besides that, there are no guarantees. So the only thing you and I ever do in life is increase our probability of success. Now, some of the guys, by the way, who are coming down here for the Super Bowl, they may actually, unfortunately, increase their probability of failure. Yeah. They may think they're more important than the team, that this is a vacation, not a job. They may engage in kind of self-serving, impulsive party life before the big day, which is going to interfere with their performance.
Buffalo Bills back in the day, I think that was part of their story. We're out of time here. Doc, what's the best website for you, my friend?
www.drschnitzky, drschnitzky.com.
All right, good stuff. All right, thanks again. We appreciate you. Also, please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Do something kind for one another. Be a force for good in the community. And we'll see you next time right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Make sure you visit consumerqb.com.